My name is Hope Green, and this fall I completed my practicum in a pre-K classroom. Today I will be sharing my RAP goal that I called Growing Patient Thinkers. Through this presentation, I want to walk you through what I learned about myself as a developing teacher, why I chose this goal, and how my students grew with me across the semester. This project really became a story about patience, reflection, and learning how even young children can be raised to meet expectations when given the right support. The rationale. When I started my placement, I quickly realized that I needed to grow in classroom management, especially during whole group discussion. My pre-K students were incredibly energetic and enthusiastic, which is wonderful, but that also meant that there was a lot of blurting, interruptions, calling out before anyone had the chance to think. My cooperating teacher, my field supervisor, noticed this as well in my early observation, and their comments really aligned with what I felt with myself. I wanted our group time to feel calmer and more integrated with everybody. I didn't want students just shouting out answers, but actually pausing, thinking, reflecting, and listening. That is what led me to my professional goal, which was to help students pause, think, and reflect before speaking out during group activities. This goal connected directly to Danielson 2D, which focuses on managing student behavior, and Danielson 3B, which emphasizes creating meaningful classroom discussion. I chose this goal because I wanted to build communication where every child had the opportunity to be heard, not just the students who naturally had the louder voices in the classroom. Methods. My practicum classroom had 18 pre-K students, including 7 students who were Spanish speaking. I really wanted to limit the talking out of turn, so I wanted to teach them how to slow down and wait as it was an important step. To work towards my goal, I collected a lot of qualitative and quantitative data. I created a tally chart during each lesson to track how often students waited and how often students blurted out. I viewed both of my recorded lessons to look closer at these patterns. I couldn't catch it during real life discussions sometimes, so it was really important to be able to go back and watch those videos. I also had my cooperating teacher, when I taught lessons outside of my field supervisor lessons, do the same thing as well, so I had multiple resources to look at the growth and how much I improved. Initially, I introduced several routines, but the main one I really want to talk about is think, pair, share, where students think about what I just asked them. They turn and talk afterwards to a partner, and then they wait until I feel as though they are calm, and I call on students that I feel could have the answer, or just students in general who should talk more, and everyone else in the classroom. I also wanted them to work on their bodies and controlling how they were sitting. So I included mindful moments where students took a deep breath, and it really seemed to work. I had a few students who had difficulty waiting, so I gave them fidget toys to help them focus on other things instead of just, oh my gosh, that's a great idea, blurt. And they had the time to actually think and control their impulsive. I also used all these strategies, and I saw that they were really great, and I got great feedback from my CT and field supervisor, who encouraged me to keep supporting students' self-regulation. The results. By the end of the project, the growth I saw was spectacular. The atmosphere in the classroom was amazing. It was more significant than I expected. In my first lesson, only 3 out of 18 students were proficient in waiting before speaking. By the second lesson, at the end of the semester, I had 12 students who sat and wait and only 6 students who blurted out, which is a significant impact and growth that I think really helped the students overall. My field supervisor observed how it dropped, and the improvement on the decrease in blurting from 3 students being quiet to 12 students, and how they also sat and thought, and they turned and talked, and then they waited to be called on. It was an amazing visual to see their growth. But a qualitative change that stood out as just as much was students started gentle reminders to each other saying, it's your turn, or let's listen first. And very shy students who rarely shared ended up contributing twice during the whole group activity from the video that I rewatched. A student who struggled with impulse control made improvement with their fidget toy, and it really helped him wait. The overall tone of the classroom shifted. Our discussion felt calmer, more respectful, and more balanced. I really felt as though this helped me and my students, and my professional goal really fit. And it wasn't only important, but it was a deep, meaningful connection with my students. I'm trying to wrap this up. I know I'm going to go a little over time. As I reflected on the change I saw, I turned to research to help me better understand why these routines worked. My first article I read from 2019 explained how students built self-regulation through consistency and routines. They described how children don't naturally develop impulse control, but they learn it by repetitive practice, pausing and thinking, and guidance from adult. Reading this felt like someone who was describing my very own classroom, and I participated in my routine becoming more consistent and mirroring the behaviors that I wanted my students to have. And seeing that my data and that data connected really helped that process. The second article I wrote from 2021 talked about how social emotional learning is a powerful woven tool that should be done every day. Much rather than taught in a standalone lesson, it really should be modeled by the students and the teachers, and especially like understanding patience, turn taking, kindness, and connecting deeply to what I observed. My students weren't just waiting on me, they were watching me. They were waiting to see what I did, how I reacted, how I spoke, my body language. And I really think that aligned with this article, and it also aligned with my goal and made a deeper impact. Together, these studies reinforce that young children can develop thoughtful discussion habits, but only when teachers model it and scaffold those skills. And then just to wrap up, my entire experience taught me that small things, that constant routines have a huge impact on young learners. I also realized how much my own calmness inflected the whole group and how powerful it is to align your teaching through videos, and it helped me notice patterns. I also felt as though I grew and became more reflective on my education, someone who understands how to support children's self-regulation through gentle, developmentally appropriate strategies. Going forward, I continue this goal into my student teaching, and I hope to keep strengthening my self-regulation routine and using simple tools to guide my planning and keep building my classroom management toolbox as I grow. This project shaped my values in a real way, and it helped me feel more grounded and made me feel very confident as a new teacher. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'm proud of the growth that my students and I made together, and I'm excited to continue this work as I move on into student teaching. Please read my discussion post below, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.